translated into ethical goals. These goals involves ensuring accuracy of scientific findings, protecting rights and welfare of participants or subjects, and protecting intellectual property rights. First, what are the things that a researcher do to ensure accuracy of scientific findings? First, researchers should avoid faking, modifying results to present a more desirable and convincing story that will support the intention of the researcher. Researchers must make their data, materials, and other evidences and information related to their research available within 5 years and even during the research presentation. It means that researchers should secure those data relevant to the accomplishment of their research. Researchers must also avoid duplicate and piecemeal publication because it distorts the knowledge bank in terms of the number of researches. It only connotes that if one article of the researchers have already been published, it means it shouldn't be republished in other journals. Researchers must also avoid any form of plagiarism. For the second goal of research ethics, the protection of welfare participants. Researchers must avoid disclosing personal identifiable information about the research participants. They should also avoid conflict of interest in doing research undertakings. They must ensure that participants voluntarily participated in this study and they are not being forced. Researchers must avoid deception if necessary and must secure participants' consent. Researchers should also properly inform their participants. Researchers must provide opportunity for the research participants to know the result of this study, or they may do debriefing after their interaction with the research participants. In order to protect intellectual property rights, researchers must ensure the authorship is justified, who will be the principal author, and what will be the order of authorship. Researchers must also ensure the integrity of their own authorship. They must avoid asking for academic writing assistant whom they pay for the accomplishment of their research paper. Researchers must properly attribute their sources, observing the proper citation and the proper and completeness of their references. Now, here are some of the research misconducts. When we say fabrication, it means that researchers are making up data or results and recording or reporting them. In terms of falsification, researchers manipulate research materials or change or omit data or results such that the research is not accurately represented in the research record. What's the difference of fabrication and falsification? Fabrication coming up with a data, while falsification is modifying the data. Plagiarism refers to the appropriation of another person's idea, processes, results, or words without giving appropriate credit. We should also remember that research misconduct doesn't include honest error or differences in opinions. Now, here are some details in terms of ethical standards in research publishing, focusing on the ethical goals. Under ensuring accuracy of scientific findings, researchers should plan for their ethical compliance. Researchers should report ethical and accurate results. Researchers should observe how to correct errors and do retractions. Researchers should look after the ways for data retention and sharing. This shall deal with the consent or agreement on what's to be collected, stored, and shared. Researchers should also look for additional data sharing considerations, especially for qualitative research. For duplicate and piecemeal publication of data, researchers should avoid misrepresenting the amount of original research data in the scientific knowledge repository. And again, in terms of plagiarism and even self-plagiarism, researchers should avoid those things. Under protection of rights and welfare, researchers should look after the welfare of human participants by obtaining consent, assent, or permission. Use language reasonably and understood by the participants. For non-human subjects, protocols must be reviewed and observed. Also, researchers should be able to protect the confidentiality, enabling or ensuring that personal identifiable information wouldn't be disclosed. Researchers should also avoid conflict of interest. Now, under the protection of intellectual property rights, here are the 14 contributor roles. A researcher or a group member or a co-researcher would contribute in terms of conceptualization, data curation, formal analysis, funding acquisition, investigation, methodology, project administration, resources, software, supervision, validation, visualization, and writing, starting from the draft up until the final research manuscript. Researchers should also observe order of authorship. Now, during the review, the manuscript is a confidential and a privileged document. Hence, authors' intellectual property rights should be observed. Now, here are some of the ethical items that could be done for compliance. You may ask yourselves, have you obtained permission to use unpublished instruments, procedures, or data that others consider theirs? Have you properly cited all published and unpublished works that you have presented in your manuscript? Have you secured the needed permission? Have you reported institutional review of your study in the method section of your manuscript? Are you prepared to answer editorial questions about the informed consent, assent, and debriefing procedures used? If your study involved non-human subjects, are you prepared to answer editorial questions about the treatment of such? Are all authors or have all authors reviewed the manuscript and agreed on responsibility for its content? Have you adequately protected the confidentiality of research participants, organizations, third parties, and others who were source of your information presented in your manuscript? Have you released or shared participant data only in accordance with the agreed specified informed consent stated in your data sharing? If your study was a clinical trial and has been registered, have you reported its registration? Now, I hope those discussions regarding ethical standards in research will all be complied as appropriate in your study. Now, if you have any questions or clarifications, you may comment and we'll answer your queries. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more research contents. Thank you.